You're listening to Thursday Night Tailgate with Chris Mascaro and Bob Lazari, where NFL legends live on. Back to you, boys.
It's him. He's alive.
All right, now back and making his fifth appearance with us here on Thursday Night Tailgate is former Pro Bowl tackle Todd Steussie. Let me remind you about Todd's background. Played his college ball at Cal, where he was named All Pac-10 three times from 1991 to 1993. He was the Morris Trophy winner in 93, which is awarded annually for being the outstanding offensive lineman in the Pac-12 now. Todd is a first-round draft pick, the 19th overall selection by the Minnesota Vikings back in 1994, and played in the league from 94 to 2007 with the Vikings, Panthers, Bucks, and Rams. He was named to the Pro Bowl in back-to-back years in 1997 and 98. He was a part of the Panthers team that played in Super Bowl 38 against the Patriots. He's a great friend of the show, and for those of you on Facebook and Twitter, as you'll be able to see, I've got my Todd Steussie jersey on tonight, and we are excited to have Steus back with us tonight here on TNT. Hey, Todd, Chris, and Bob, thanks for coming back on the show.
Todd.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me. I can't believe it's been five times been on your show. It's great to be on again. And by the way, I would short the Raiders if I was. I was listening to your previous guest, and I didn't catch who it was, but John Gruden. While I love him, he was my coach for 2 years. He's like an ADD kid with sugar high. He's going to be collecting players left and right, and sometimes assembling those is more difficult than collecting them. So while I think he'll be successful, year one might be a stretch. So, but we'll see. We'll see if I'm right or wrong.
All right. So let's take on that same sort of vein, Todd. When you look at your Vikings, going forward this next season, obviously, Case Keenum gone. In is Kirk Cousins. Are you buying and selling the Vikings next season? Because it seems like it's Super Bowl or bust for both Cousins and the Vikings.
I've never been a big fan of Cousins. I think that he is a good quarterback, but I think it was a lateral move between him and Keenum. I think that Case had a magical season, and maybe he steps down a little bit, but Kirk Cousins is. If you look at I don't have the stats in front of me, but there was, a lot of the different stats that in my mind are important. He was a second-tier quarterback. I don't think you break the bank I don't think he's a game changer. He doesn't change the Vikings. I think it's a lateral move. So unfortunately, I would have to, they're not on my buy list.
All right.
I think they'll be a good team.
Todd,
I don't think they move up.
Yeah, that's sort of something that Bob and I have been sort of lobbing back and forth. Is Cousins an upgrade over Keenum? And obviously you're paying him a ton of money, $84 million, to be the guy that gets the Vikings sort of over the hump, right? You get us deep into the playoffs last year. And one game sort of short of the Super Bowl, but yeah, that's something that we've been curious about. Is Cousins that guy, or is he just sort of, like you point out, a lateral move to Keenum? And if he's a lateral move to Keenum, boy, that's a ton of money to give a guy, right? To just get you, whether it's even back as far as what you just got.
If they're successful next year, I put more of the cause of the success on the running back coming back healthy. I think he was a phenomenal in the first couple games of the year. He was as good as anybody else in the league. Great downhill runner, and if they're successful, it's going to be a great contribution to was it Cooks? I'm trying to remember his name now.
Right, Dalvin Cook.
I apologize. Yeah.
So Todd, I'm guessing
we'll see. I'm always rooting for the Vikings. I don't get me wrong. I don't see Cousins as being an upgrade.
So Todd, I'm guessing you saw that the Jaguars have signed former Panthers guard Andrew Norwell to a 5-year, $66.5 million deal, $30 million of which is guaranteed. So it's the richest contract ever for a guard. So does it make you, A, want to dust off the 73 and come back, or do you wish you were born 10 years later?
10 years later, I'd be much bigger fan of. I don't think there's any chance that I put the pads on today. But you know what? I realize there's guys like Ron Yeri and stuff that when I came into the league, and my rookie contract was 4 years, 3.2, and that was a phenomenal amount of money. Now, today, it will be tomorrow, but it's compared to what guys are getting paid. It's all relative, and I was very fortunate to play a game I loved and to get paid well while I was doing it. They're getting paid better now, but good for them.
And Todd, one of our good friends, you mentioned Ron Yeri, one of our good friends here on the show is former Vikings Pro Bowl guard and a guy who's, in our opinion, should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's in our guest Hall of Fame, is Ed White. And you sort of followed Ed's footpath. You went to Cal and then played 9 years with the Vikings. He played 9 years with the Vikings before going on to San Diego for another 8. So I was curious, did you get to spend much time talking or working with Ed in either place, either at Cal or in Minnesota?
No, I never did. I've spoken to him before 2, maybe 3 times. Great guy. He's one of those guys that, like, I try to be like, when you ask me about the new contracts with the guys getting paid what they get paid, there's some guys that are just absolutely bitter about that. And there's other guys that I try to model myself. It's like, no, I get it while you can, because it doesn't last forever, and good for him. And Ed was always that kind of guy. He was very appreciative of the opportunities that he had and the things that came out of it. And the Cal connection was a very strong one. And I haven't spoken to Ed in a while, but yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I've heard him on your show.
Bob, questions for Todd?
Todd, I wanted to get your opinion. The news came down that a guy like Joe Thomas retired, a former tackle like yourself, and I'm looking at his career. And Todd, here's a guy that played 11 seasons for some lousy teams, but always shined, and obviously they're talking Hall of Famer ready for this guy. Was a very talented guy, made his money and everything, but he just turned 33. He said, that's enough. It's sad in a way because the guy just never had a lot of success with the team, but I'm sure it's happy in a way. I'm sure his health is a concern also. What's going through your mind when you see a guy like that hang him up today?
Yeah, no, I was surprised. I thought maybe he would try to jump to another team. Certainly wouldn't fault him for that. I doubt if Cleveland is going to be a barn burner next year. Regardless of how many draft picks they stockpiled. But no, Ed, I hope he has peace in his heart. It's something that the one thing I always cringe about is guys that retire multiple times. Like, no, what, do it once and do it right. Ronnie Lott years ago told me that there was he wound up getting criticized when he left the 49ers, got criticized when he left the Raiders, and even like his own family members, like, what are you doing? You're somehow soiling your legacy. And he's like, you know what? I'd rather play 1 year too long than 1 year too late. When I left, I was completely at peace with my decision, and I never looked back. And looking at him now, he's a very successful investor in early stage companies, a bunch of things that he's involved in. And he told me that probably when I had about 4 or 5 years still to play. And I took that to heart. I mean, I'd much rather play 1 year too long than 1 year too little. And I left without any in terms of like, should I go back? I knew I was done when I left. It was a clear and easy decision for me. And you know what? That was part of the reason why I feel like I was able to focus on other things, because I never regretted leaving when I left. So hopefully Joe's at that place for himself, because he's had a great career, obviously, regardless of the win record.
And a common theme tonight, Todd, is we've been talking about student athletes, and yourself having gone to an academic institution institution like California. Just wanted to give us your insight on how that was being a true student athlete. You know these guys, Todd. At other institutions, it's like just show up at the football field and be ready to go. But at a place like Cal, you had to do it on both sides. And did it take a lot of getting used to? I mean, what is it, a hard transition from high school? Tell us all about that.
Well, no, I look back at it now, and I wish I would have been more focused on it early in my career. I wouldn't say that I was the truest student athlete until it's difficult to do it on both sides. And I know teammates that did. I give them a ton of credit. My first a couple years at Cal, I was doing enough to get by, but it really wasn't fulfilling my potential until I went back after I was done playing, graduated at the age of 40 from Cal, did the cap and gown, and I was a 2-something student my first time around. In the last 2 semesters when I was doing it basically on my own dime, I finished with a 3.875. And part of it was being motivated to, if I'm paying my own way, and it's like I got kids that I'm expecting them to get good grades on, what kind of example am I if I'm not doing the same? But it wound up taking on a different context. It was something that was the lens in which I saw my focus towards my next part in life. And so, I mean, you don't want to look back and like, I wish I would have. I'm glad that I wound up shifting gears when I did. But it is a difficult, student athletes are asked to do so much, and especially at a school like Cal, and to do both equally well is the few guys that can do it, give them a ton of credit, because they basically have 2 full-time jobs to achieve at that level.
Todd, before we let you go, remind our listeners about what you're doing now.
So I co-founded a healthcare analytics company back in 2014. We do risk-adjusted outcomes analysis we're basically like a bond rating agency for healthcare. That's the majority of my time, but we did some work around the NFL RFID data, next-gen stats, had early access to the data. We built a platform that we've been disappointed for 2 years because the competition committee hasn't released the data, but we are rallying because all signs indicate that the NFL teams will have access to the player tracking data starting next month. And so we're re-engaging with some teams, talking about our solution and how it can help them utilize this new data source to make better player personnel decisions, kind of shorten the time that coaches have to spend breaking down film, et cetera. So it's exciting. It's been it's different than the healthcare stuff, but in a lot of ways it utilizes some of the same technology, some of the same approaches.
Well, Todd, it has been great having you back on the show again tonight. We've missed talking to you. You're fantastic. We hope you'll come back and share more of your stories and insights with us again real soon, my friend.
Look forward to it. Hopefully I have some good stuff to talk about with the work we're doing with the NFL. I'll definitely share it with you when it happens.
Great.
We appreciate that very much, Todd. All the best to you and your wife, Erica, and the rest of your family. We look forward to catching up again soon.
Take care, Todd.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care, Todd. That is former Vikings Pro Bowl tackle Todd Steussie. We're going to come back and we're going to do our spotlight on the positive, and we'll do that after this real quick station ID.